This is the ZMAR Podcast. Elite Benefits of America helps small and mid-sized companies with their health insurance programs. And now, your host, Butch ZMAR.
Well, welcome back to the ZMAR Podcast. I have a special guest by the name of Dave Blake. Dave Blake and I will go way back to early days when he was in Chicago, and now he's in nice sunny beaches in Florida. He took the time to come on and share his story and then what he's working on, because the background on the story, I think everybody's going to be excited to hear, and just the progress that Dave has made throughout a lot of things he's done. So welcome to my show, Dave.
All right. Well, you got it, Butch. I think you hit it all correct here in the sunny beaches of Florida, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So there's a lot in the background, meaning like your history and what you've done and everything. Can you give us just a quick intro about what you're working on now and where you're coming from and all the good things that Dave Blake's working on?
Yes, I'm not sure in this time period that we can cover all of it, but I'll summarize. Basically, I'm an action speaker, and so I work with individuals and corporations on a variety of things, but mostly covering that generational gap, as well as bringing teams together through communication, innovation, goal setting, and goal attainment. Bringing those pieces together to help them synergize, get their message out, especially in a time like now, when we're coming through a pandemic. Nobody's really sure what's going on, and the protocols that were in place and not working before have all gone out the window. So I help them pull those pieces together, find their new message, and figure out how they can bring everything into the goals that they want. Clarify those goals. One of the speeches I do is Guy Falls in a Hole, Lessons from 6 Feet Under. And in that, we talk about how each one of us has fallen in a hole at some point in some way, whether it be financial, business, personal, or something else. Companies are not immune to this, and oftentimes they don't realize it. When they're in that hole, they often look around and think, well, I guess I live here now. Instead of trying to figure out where they want to go. The stumbling block is everyone wants to get back to where they started. Get me back to ground zero, or back on level ground. But in reality, things weren't working when they were there before. So I work with them to see the next step. Go beyond the starting line and make that your new starting point.
So, and we'll get to a lot more of that here momentarily, but I want to backstep because you went through a huge path to get to where you're at today, and I want to touch base on that because obviously a lot of what I do is employee benefits, which are related to health insurance, but I know some of this could be personal, but can you share a little bit about some of your medical history and then into the recovery, because a lot of the motivation and the things that you would talk about today, I believe, are stem from this recovery period that you went through medically. Is that right?
Exactly. And that's the Guy Falls in a Hole is the personal story of what happened to me.
Yep.
Basically, in a nutshell, 7 years ago, I slipped on the ice and broke my ankle. Now, for most people, that would be a bad enough day. But that led to a surgery that is questionable whether it was even needed. But the main problem is, during that surgery, I believe I received a recall drug. And there are many pathways we can go down with that. The situation is, when I walked into surgery, I was a functioning person with a broken leg. When I came out of surgery, I had all the symptoms of a stroke, Parkinson's, MS, and many other things. Couldn't hold myself up, couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair for about 6 months, a walker for about 6 months after that, and all of that boiled down to what happened in surgery. The diagnosis, the many, many treatments, the hundreds of doctors and hospitals, including the Mayo Clinic, which misdiagnosed me with having ALS. They gave me 3 to 5 months to live. Hence, Guy Falls in a Hole, lessons from 6 feet under. So in a nutshell, when I was given that 3 to 5 months to live, like many people, you look around and think, what do I do now? You know, this is it. For me, it was winter in Chicago. Cold was one of the things that affected my body. And if I had 3 to 5 months, it wasn't going to be in the frozen tundra of Chicago. So Florida I came. And my recovery started with getting till tomorrow, getting to hold myself up, trying to get my speech back, waiting out that time until what they said I would expire. When 5 months came along and I had actually improved and not gone down, I was retested and found out I didn't have ALS. They still could not say what specifically happened, but the recovery was able to switch and go into full-blown recovery and what I call training mode. A lot of people call therapy, but I look at it like an athlete. If you want to get back to top performance, you train. So that's what I've been doing for 7 years, is retraining my voice, my legs, my body to function the way it used to. And I'm back to about 80 to 85% on all of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know during your recovery, you were creative with your creative natures, that you were making these videos and sharing it with the public, at least your friends and family, and on that recovery progress and the challenges that you went through, but you never gave up. And I'm sure there was days that you wanted to give up.
Oh my gosh, most days. But that's where the goals come in, and the goals take over. When you don't want to get out of bed, no matter who you are. We all go through this at some point where you just can't face the day, or something in that day is challenging. So we all face that at some point. But when you have a goal that is stronger than the negatives, it pulls you through. And I tried to focus on what I could accomplish and not what obstacles I had.
Well, it certainly molded a lot of things to get to where you are today. And obviously there's a lot of successes. You have a lot that you could be thankful for and grateful for the progress that you made. Because I know recently you just received some type of award from the National Speakers Association. You're obviously helping businesses and individuals out move into a more positive direction. Can you give a little bit more detail on what you're doing with the businesses and individuals for coaching and then obviously the speaking part of it?
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned in the beginning, one of the speeches I do is Guy Falls in a Hole. Another one of my signature speeches is Innovate like a Rockstar. So that focuses on my 20-year background of being a DJ, being around celebrities, being on stage, and being a certified innovation trainer. So I pull all of that together using music, rock stars, and how rock stars who have been successful for 30, 40, 50 years connect with their fans, and they bring their fans into the process. So I work with companies not only to create new, but utilizing what has always worked and invite their fans or clients into the process. So their fans become super fans, and those fans become their sales and build them up. But their super fans are also their staff, their employees. Just like a major band, if their staff doesn't love what they're doing, if they're not part of the whole system, nobody sounds good and nobody looks. So I transferred that to the corporate setting.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one that has become my favorite is the flip-flop philosopher. And that is based on many years of things I wanted to do and always put off.
Mm-hmm.
That now that I'm going through recovery, I've made it a point of going out and taking the day to myself, spending the day at a coffee shop and coming up with new concepts, and also dividing my time into a 10-10-10 format. 10 days of work, 10 days of leisure and travel, and 10 days of everyday life, things that we need to take care of. Now, it's not always 10 days in a row, but in a month, we typically have 8 days of weekends anyway. I added 2 to that. I get a lot more done. I'm much more productive, and that has caught on into the flip-flop philosopher and a newsletter that I put out once a week in a video format called an Island Minute. It's 1 minute of what can you do this week? How can you implement some of these things into your life as I have? And a monthly newsletter that adds some of that along with a cocktail that I've come up with throughout my travels.
Yeah, it's awesome. And now, through a lot of the things you've been doing to help businesses move to a different level or individuals move to a different level, how is it some of the stuff that you've been doing for them, and then of course your clients? How have things changed with COVID?
A lot has changed. Everything has changed with COVID. Number one, that team aspect that was broken before when people were in the office. Now they're separated around the world, not connecting face to face. So that team aspect has become even harder. So I help a lot of them find ways to reunite their people, including setting up a separate monitor in their home office or wherever they are, so that they can be on a Zoom call or Skype or whatever their format is and have other members of their team available to ask questions or just have that atmosphere around. And that's just one of the many things that companies can do to bring those teams closer together. But networking, working on specific projects outside of their day-to-day.
Hey gang, ever wonder what it's like to be a small business owner? It's confusing, weird expenses coming out of nowhere, and when you throw in health insurance, forget it. Nobody understands how that works. If you own a business, big or small, it's one of the biggest expenses you have all year long. And yet, we all wait until open enrollment at the end of the year, and then we think to ourselves, next year I'll get a jump on it. And then it's another year of paying way too much. If you're a business owner, big or small, HR representative that wants to impress the boss, give Butch Zemar of Elite Benefits of America a call. Save yourself or your boss thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars a year. Reach out to Butch right now, 708-535-3006, or shoot him an email, butch@elitebenefits.net. And be sure to check out the Zemar podcast. Don't wait till the last minute. Put Butch Zemar to work for you now.
Everything has changed since COVID, and the impact and what you're bringing to the table is definitely helping people push through and move through that. And this has definitely been great with a lot of things that you're working on, and then also Lisa in the background. I know she's helping you a ton. A lot of things that you've been working on with webcast and webinars and just a lot of things. And I think you guys are definitely doing a great great thing out there. Is there anything that you're working on now that's making an impact to those businesses that you're working with?
Ironically, the one I mentioned, all of them are making a huge impact. Mm-hmm. The flip-flop Philosopher has seemed to make the biggest impact because of COVID, I believe. We were all stressed out before this happened. We all needed a break. And for many people, the island life, the beach getaway, is something that draws people. That's why Florida, the islands, Hawaii, California are such big draws all year. That philosophy, that idea of bringing a little island life into your daily life has really excelled even more than I had anticipated. And the reactions from people, I give them tips on how to decorate, how to escape for 10 minutes. That's why I do the 1-minute video every week. So if they have no other time, they can take 1 minute during their break and get a little of that island life, some tips that they can do, and ways that they can envision themselves. And it's transferring into the companies where things are lighter, things are brighter. Now, I also tell them, maybe the beach life isn't for you. Take these same principles, and whether it's skiing, traveling to other countries, what other getaway it is for you. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's writing, or just any other hobby or adventure that you like. Replace that using the same tips. And it's not only making the employees and the staff raise their vibration, but it's bringing those teams together. And now they're planning getaways. They're planning office parties with this theme and with these tips in mind.
Yeah, and one of those hobbies, one of the reasons you and I connected years ago was scuba diving. And we started a conversation about scuba diving, and my kids are occupying my time. And so I haven't been heavily involved like as we used to, but you and I have gotten a number of dives, and I tell you that's a good passion and a good way to escape. There's no cell phones, there's nobody yelling at you, just peace and quiet with some bubbles and some aquatic environment that you're watching, and that's a great escape for sure.
It is, and that's one of the things that I talk about a lot, is scuba diving, because it takes you to a whole nother world. If anybody ever wants to escape their daily grind, go scuba diving for one afternoon. And when you're under the water, you're in a whole new world. Talk about escapism. Nothing from your reality is true when you're in the water.
Couldn't agree more. Scuba can bring some anxiety initially, but just give it some time. It's just one escape that most people enjoy, and instead of looking at the aquarium from the outside, jump in and get the real life experience. So speaking of real life experiences, Dave, this has definitely been great. And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for your services, maybe a speaking opportunity, motivation for their employees, how do they get in touch with you? And then also, how do they sign up for their Island Minute and the Coconut, was it the Coconut Chronicle?
Yes. All of that can be done in one place on davidblakepresents.com. That's the easiest place to remember and to find all of the things you just talked about. For the Coconut Chronicle, that's about halfway down the first page. It's bright, it's tropical, you can't miss it. It says Flip-Flop Philosopher on it. A couple of clicks, put your name in, and you are signed up to receive that every week.
Awesome. Well, everybody go get their Coconut Chronicle. The links will actually be available in the show notes when we get this published. Dave, this has been great, and I love to see your progress as move along through your health and obviously prosperity too. Just moving on to bigger and greater things, and then making an impact for other people and paying it forward. So I appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to having you on again sometime.
You got it. Anytime, Butch.